Hello there, it's yet another edition of Living the Message. It is brought to you thanks to the communication team of Bethlehem Baptist Church GRA, and on today's edition we're going to continue with the message titled The 7 Marks of Uncommon Faith Christians. It is drawn from the book of Luke chapter 17 from verses 11 to 19, and today we're going to be looking at the third mark of uncommon faith Christians, which says that they demonstrate unquestionable obedience. They demonstrate unquestionable obedience. With me here is Wednesday Blessing. Blessing, it's nice having you again.
Thank you.
Okay, Blessing, while looking at the 7 marks of uncommon faith Christians, we saw today that they demonstrate unquestionable obedience. What do you understand? What does it mean when we say that they demonstrate unquestionable obedience?
Okay, thank you so much, Ruth. Unquestionable obedience simply means that obeying God without asking a reason why you are doing that thing. Yes.
Obeying God
without asking why.
Okay, I see. Okay, now when we look at these people, these 10 lepers who were abandoned, a bunch of people who were abandoned somewhere because of their situation, because of the challenge that they were going through. We see that before Jesus Christ came to the scene, they did something. What did they actually do?
Actually, that is now the first mark that they demonstrated unquestionable obedience, leading actually to how they demonstrated unquestionable obedience. Actually, the first point is Jesus saw them.
Yeah.
That is the first mark actually. So when Jesus Christ saw them as a result of the fact that they lifted up their voices. So this point actually is just a confirmation that Jesus Christ was at a distance, and then they had to lift up their voices so as to attract him, because verse 14 starts with that Jesus saw them.
Yes, okay. And Jesus saw them. They lifted up their voices to Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ saw them. And this tells us that if they did not lift up their voices in something, maybe Jesus Christ would not have seen them. But that doesn't cancel the fact that Jesus Christ did not know that they were there, because Jesus Christ is actually God. He knows everything. But just the fact that they took on a step, an action of lifting up their voices for Jesus Christ to see them, it's already a great step to their freedom or their liberation from the leprosy that they had. And the next thing we saw was that Jesus Christ told them to go. Remember, we are talking about them demonstrating unquestionable obedience. Jesus Christ told them to go. We see them in a situation where they have leprosy, they are not supposed to meet anybody, and what they're supposed to do is just to stay in that isolated environment. When they sense that someone is coming or someone is passing around, they need to shout out that unclean continuously, so that nobody comes around that place. But we see them making a difference by calling out to Jesus Christ before Jesus Christ sees them. And when Jesus Christ saw them, Jesus Christ told them that go. And immediately they left and they were going. Whether they were going to where, they left and they were going. That's how they just obeyed Jesus Christ, knowing very well that they are still sick, they still have the leprosy, they are not supposed to go where they will meet people, they are not supposed to meet any of their family members, anybody in the community. But they demonstrated this by leaving and going immediately, not questioning Jesus Christ. So that's another way that they demonstrated this unquestionable obedience. So what can you say about another way that they demonstrated unquestionable obedience?
Okay, Jesus Christ asked them to go and show themselves to the priest.
Yes.
This is the same priest that laid a declaration upon them to go to that isolated village.
Yes.
So going back to the priest it's kind of challenging, because even I, for one, first of all, Jesus Christ instructed me to go. First of all, I'm going to ask him, where should I go? But they were just going.
Yes.
And now it was when they were going that Jesus said, go and show yourself to the priest. So that is really an illustration of unquestionable obedience.
That's true. Yeah. They just left, they went without questioning. You know, most of the times when somebody gives us a simple instruction, what happens next is that we begin to ask questions. But when we look at this scenario, we see that we need to obey God without questioning. And looking at our situation today, we also see a scenario where people who have coronavirus are being taken, are being told to stay somewhere. They should not come where people are because they are going to contaminate them. Imagine that you're in that situation where you have to stay somewhere abandoned like that, and somebody comes and tells you to go. What will you do? To just go?
In fact, I will first of all isolating myself from my family because I have coronavirus is really frustrating. I just imagine how those 10 lepers they felt because we don't know how many years they were there or months, but they were isolated, they were far off from their family, from their loved ones, from their children, even from their businesses per se. But if actually I was the one, first of all, I'm going to feel bad. And again, having the opportunity to come back to my family or come back, meaning that actually I'm free. It's really an amazing situation actually, though it will be kind of challenging because I'll be shy that I've been quarantined somehow.
Yeah. Okay, that's why it is said that whatever makes sense to God does not make sense to man. There are things that make sense to God and it will never make sense to man. That is why these people left. If you want to look at it from our normal sense, it doesn't make sense for someone to go and to just live with a disease and go and mix himself up with the people around. But it is making sense to God. So we should keep trusting God in everything. We should obey Him. We should not question Him. When He tells us to do something, we should do it. Because whatever makes sense to God will always make sense to Him, and at times it will not make sense to us. And that brings us to the end of our session today. Thank you, and until we meet again, stay blessed.